Blake Griffith, what's up, man?
What up, dude?
Not much, man. So, look, you are a experienced songwriter, musician, have done a lot of good things already. So let's just take it all the way from the beginning and kind of tell me how you got there.
Okay, so started playing guitar 13, 14-ish, 8th grade, somewhere around there. Had always been into music. You know, my dad was a big classic rock dude. So, but I met Kyle Roop, who you know. We went to school together, and he played guitar, and I remember seeing him one day like out on the playground, and I was like, damn, that's kind of cool. I want to do that. So I got my dad to get me a guitar, and of course,
Wait, he took his guitar to the playground?
oh dude,
What?
that dude got a guitar everywhere.
What?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, well, we went to the school we went to. It wasn't really that big of a deal. It was a pretty small private school. They don't really care. But yeah, so started playing and became super close with him, and we spent a lot of time recording and, you know, downloading, you know, illegal recording programs off LimeWire and trying to get into it and learning all that kind of stuff. And eventually he kind of went off and started playing with bands, and that was never really my thing. I did a little bit of that later on in life, but kind of got into songwriting when I was around 18 to 19-ish. And how I kind of got into that more seriously is I live in a tiny town, Grand Cane, on a dirt road on a farm. And right across the road from our place is a guy named Tom Douglas, who is a Hall of Fame writer, has written a ton of hit songs, and I've known him my whole life. And he's always been sort of a cornerstone in that aspect of my life. And once he kind of realized that I was getting serious about it, he was kind of like, okay, you know, maybe you should come up here and do some of these songwriting seminar convention things and just network and hang out and see how you like it. So he told me, he's like, man, bring a buddy and you make your way to Nashville, and I'll put you up in a hotel and get you tickets to this songwriting convention thing, and you can hang out and do that. So me and Kyle went, did that, and it was awesome. And that kind of lit a fire under me. So I started making more trips, and that was when I was 20. When I was around 23, 24, my dad started his own business, a little machine shop, and I kind of thought to myself, you know, maybe that's probably the safe route. I should probably do that and quit chasing this crazy pipe dream. And so I still wrote a little bit, but not that much. And then it didn't take too long for me to figure out, man, I love songwriting. That's what I want to do. How do I make this work? So when my wife was pregnant with our first kid, I was 26. I made the decision to, like, I'm going to give this all I got. I want my kids to know that if they have a dream, chase it. Whether you fail or not, you'll never know. You're for sure going to fail if you don't do it.
Yeah.
You know, so which is an awful time to start a songwriting career. Do it before you have kids. but that's just how it worked out for me, and it's fine. So he was born in 2013. 2014, I really hit it hard. Started going to a lot of these conventions and going to Nashville every 4, 6, 8 weeks, and just kind of started networking and building relationships and writing, and that eventually led to a publishing deal in 2018 with another Hall of Fame writer named Jeffrey Steele. I wrote for his company, Three Ring Circus Music. Wrote there for 3 years and made a lot of great connections and friends, and got a lot of rights that I wouldn't have been able to get otherwise. You know, so that was a big booster for me. In 21 that ended, and I was during the middle of COVID, so it was kind of a slow period from 2020 to into 21. But I'm still doing it now. Still go up there about a week a month and do the thing, and yeah, that's where I'm at now. I'm here.
Yeah. And you landed on country based on what?
Yeah, so I grew up listening to classic rock. My dad's a huge classic rock fan. He loves Rod Stewart, The Faces, Rolling Stones, Zeppelin, Skinner, all that stuff, and I love all that stuff too. And that's what I grew up listening to. And then when I was in high school, I was into the 90s rock, Black Crowes, Foo Fighters, Stone Temple Pilots, all that kind of stuff. And that's my jam. I think early 2000s, 99, 2000, Australian dude named Keith Urban came out, and I think I saw the video for one of his songs on like CMT or something. But he was playing a banjo, but like there was a badass guitar solo in it too, and I was like, well, wait a minute, That's kind of cool. I actually like that because I could relate to the lyrics, but I also like the music, because I grew up country, but I listened to rock music, you know what I mean? So that was like, this is really cool. And Brad Paisley and Tim McGraw put out an album during that time period too. I can't remember the name of the album, but there was a song called Red Ragtop on there.
Well, those two guys are some of the best guitar players I've ever experienced live.
Oh, yeah.
And so Tim McGraw, you had a song with him?
Yes, I had a song with him called Hallelujahville on his last album.
Okay. And how did that song come about?
So that song came about. So if you're from Shreveport, you know the band called Tyler Reed.
Yeah.
So you've had Josh on here.
Yeah.
So, and me and Jordan, the drummer, we were best friends. We lived together for a long time. And I think in 2009, they had an album come out called Hallelujahville. And I remember sitting with Jordan. He was telling me about the recording process and stuff. And I was like, dude, that's a country song, man. And he was like, yeah, I don't know. And that was kind of it. Forgot about it. So fast forward to 2017, I'm on my way to Nashville, and I've got to write with Tom Douglas and another guy named Brett Taylor. And we have an idea that I had that we were going to write, but I got an 8.5-hour drive, so I got a lot of time to think. And I had written this song called, I think it was called Small Town Believer or something. It wasn't very good, but it was. I've always wanted to write a song about Grand Cane, my hometown. I mean, and there's thousands of them, but everybody wants to write one, and I did too. And I'd written that one, and I was like, it's cool, but I knew it wasn't that great. So I was trying to think on my way up to Nashville. I was like, how could I write that where it's like in a cooler way? So I started like just talking to myself and throwing out titles. Like the original one was Small Town Believer, so I was like Small Town Amen. And then I threw out a couple more like that, and then I said like Small Town Hallelujah, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And I was like, what if it was like Hallelujah Town? And then I was like, oh shit, wait a minute, Hallelujahville. I forgot about that. So I was like, that could be a little awkward. So I went back and listened to the Tyler Reed album because I couldn't remember if there was a song or if it was the album. So I went back, and there is a song, but it's more of like a chant leading into another song. And plus it's rock music.
Yeah.
And this is country, so it's two totally different things. So I was like, okay, I think that would be okay. So when I got to the right, I was like, hey guys, I know we're supposed to write this other song, but just let me throw this idea out real quick, because I kind of had it mapped out in my head how the verses and stuff would go, like the kind of the progression of the story. And I told them that, and they were like, oh, that's pretty cool. Let's write that. So that was in January of 2017. And we got together on that song about 4 or 5 times over the course of that year. So there's like 3 or 4 versions of that song. And they're all pretty good, but they were never like, that's the one.
Yeah.
So we started it January 2017. In December of 2017, we finished it. We got it as good. This is as good as it's going to get. We're done with it. So like a week or so later, Tom made a demo of it. Just a piano vocal kind of thing. And he was playing at the Bluebird Cafe, if I remember this right. And if, for those of you that don't know, the Bluebird Cafe is a premier songwriter venue. It's a super small. It's a really intimate kind of thing where songwriters sit in a circle. They call it In the Round. And they each go and they play songs. And Tom was playing, and he's had a ton of hits, a lot of Tim McGraw stuff. And he had a song called Meanwhile Back at Mama's, Tim McGraw recorded several years ago. And it's a duet with Tim and Faith. Well, Faith happened to be at the Bluebird that night, and she came up and sang it with him when he did his writer's round. And I think after the show, he went up to Faith and was like, I really hate to do this, but I have this song that I think Tim would really like. Is it cool if I send it? And she's like, and he knows them, they have a relationship. She's like, totally, that's cool, awesome. So he sends it to him, and a week later he had it on hold. And what a hold is, if you don't know, so like when you write a song and you pitch it to an artist and they put it on hold, it basically just means they have first dibs.
Okay.
So he put it on hold, and then that January of 2018 he recorded it. So we're like, oh hell yeah.
That was immediately.
Immediately.
Like a month, yeah.
However, it got a little sketchy because he had just started this new project, and ours was one of the first ones to get recorded. Well, the song didn't come out till over 2.5 years later. So a lot of times when that happens, that you get a song in there at the first, but then if they're not going to release it for 2 years, well, they may hear something way better, and you just get
shit can.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. So like 2018 goes by, don't hear a word about it. 2019 goes by, nothing, and we're just kind of like,
You have your hopes up this whole time.
I mean, that was my first like really big
first pass,
first big cut, and
Yeah.
I was like, it just like, please, God, please, just let you know. But you know, it's just like once you turn a song in, it's completely out of your hands. There's nothing I can do about it. So finally, August of 2020, it comes out, and you know, it's awesome. I mean, it is awesome, and I am super blessed and thankful. However, that was the worst time in the history of music for any music to come out. It was the height of the pandemic. Nobody's touring. It was
Yeah.
a really awful time for songs to come out. However, but I mean, it was such a surreal experience. It was awesome, man. I mean, really cool. You know, so as much negative things I could say about it, I do. I mean, like getting a song cut, period, is almost like winning the lottery. It's that the chances are that small. You know, so to get one in there was a really cool thing.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I mean, it's impressive too. Like, I was just curious of how the process worked because I mean, you don't ever hear a lot of people talk about this. Like, you hear everyone talk about the artist and the song, but no one really ever talks about how it came to fruition. And then a lot of artists don't write their own music.
No,
you know?
yeah.
And so, like, what made you decide to be a writer versus an actual musician? Like,
I've never been the kind of guy who wants all the attention or needs the spotlight on me. I just don't care.
So you just want to have something in there and say, look, I had something to do with that. That fulfills you.
The creative process is what fulfills me.
Yeah.
Like just being creative. That's what that's my high. You know what I mean? Like I don't care about being on stage in front of a bunch of people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like that's not my thing. I like to start with nothing and end up with something cool.
Well, and there's not a lot of notoriety, like from the listener perspective, because they don't realize how it works. Like I have noticed that, like from an artist perspective, they respect songwriters so much more than a listener does because a listener doesn't have that intimate connection.
For sure.
And I think that's just
I think
it's always going to be that way.
Yeah.
So when people on the outside looking in, are like, oh well, I may not be interested in that, but it doesn't matter because it would have never happened had it not been for someone like you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
for sure. Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, the songwriters are kind of the low man on the totem pole as far as the notoriety goes, but they're also the backbone of the whole thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of I just love being the creative process is my jam.
And DeSoto Parish, man. So I've said this, and I have to keep saying this. Like, it's not a fucking coincidence that there's 20 people I know that are all from there that are amazing musicians.
Dude,
I mean,
it's weird. Yeah.
You have Josh Johnson. You have Kyle. You.
Jordan Johnson, Josh's brother.
Jordan. Shay.
Yeah.
I mean, who else? Chris Hemingway.
Yeah.
He had, he had his run and was amazing in rock music. And
Jackie.
Jackie. I mean, it just keeps going on and on. It's like it can't be a coincidence. It can't be. It's something in the water, bro.
Brian Martin. Have you heard of that dude? He's from Logansport area, Grand Cane area. I wrote with him. I'd never met him, but he grew up in the same place I did, and he's got like more listeners on Spotify than some of the biggest country music acts.
Yeah.
I mean, he's from right there too. It's just crazy. It's like a little cesspool of talent.
Yeah, and it's weird. I guess like everyone, every time I bring this up, they're like, we didn't have anything else to do. I'm like, yeah, but there's a lot of people in rural areas all over the United States that didn't have nothing else to do. And it's not a town full, 2,000 person town full of 20 musicians. Like that's something, you know what I mean? And I don't know what it is, and I can't put my finger on it. And I'm sure people mention this, but I always have to bring that up because I think it's really interesting.
Oh, for sure, it is to me too. And I mean, like I've talked about that with Josh and Kyle too before. It's like, dude, what? Like we need to start like a super group or something. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, nobody would know who we are, but still, it's like we got a little talent. We could do something, it'd be kind of cool. But so DeSoto Parish, Grand Cane, there's lots of hidden gems. And
there's some other people that date back further than that in that area that someone brought that information to light to me. I'm sure it was Jackie. Jackie's well versed in those things. Yeah. I can't remember who it was. They said something on the show about how far that goes back. But it is interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, now we got a recording studio.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we're kind of a one-stop shop.
So what are you doing there with those guys?
So Kyle Roop and Leaf Shavli opened up a recording studio in what used to be the only restaurant in Grand Cane.
I remember, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we used to eat catfish where the control room is. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's really weird. So, but they've started this this thing, and it's a really badass space, and you know how talented Kyle is. And if you don't know Kyle, he's an extremely talented guitar player, musician, producer, recording engineer. He has God-given talent for that.
Yeah.
He just does. So I've been working with them a little bit lately. We've kind of opened up what we're calling a Studio B. So like the restaurant is it's really big, and it's kind of like a long alleyway type thing. But to the side of it was like their little, I guess you call it like a banquet room, like where you'd have like parties or something. I mean, it's pretty big too. So we're kind of turning that into a Studio B that I'm kind of heading up, and it's more of like a budget friendly version of what they're doing. I'm doing like a lot of like acoustic vocal stuff and demo kind of stuff for writers, and a lot of overflow from what they're getting to kind of take some of the pressure off of Kyle, because he's got a lot going on. So yeah, I'm doing that, and among many other things.
Well, so how does that process work? Like, someone wants to, if they're interested in cutting a demo, if they're a songwriter and they're interested in what does that work? How do they a process work with you?
So if a writer wants to cut a demo, or even if it's just somebody who writes songs and wants a quality recording of their song, so they'll get with me or them, and we'll come in, and I'll get them to track it on acoustic, or if they want me to play it, I'll do it. Or if they want me to sing it, I'll do it, whatever. And we kind of just go over it and figure out the parts and what would sound the best. And, and I mean, I've been doing this long enough. I know if they're trying to if they want to be able to pitch it, I know the standard. So we'll kind of go by that, which is, you don't really want to be over 3.5 minutes and that kind of thing.
Why is that? Like, has that just been the bookend for songs for the past 50 years?
It keeps getting shorter and shorter.
Yeah.
I mean, I think our attention spans are
most definitely.
You know what I mean? Because listen to a Led Zeppelin song and you'll be there for 12 minutes.
Yeah. Well, but how does it work? Where people say it has to be this way? Is that still a thing? Because I feel like everything goes through that. Well, you got to cut it this way, or so and so's not even going to entertain it, or something like that. How does that work?
A lot of that's true, man. I mean, it needs to be under a certain time limit. I mean, if you can get it under 3 minutes, that's even better.
But not even the time limit, the subject matter and the way that specific riffs are in there, and
Yeah, you kind of have to. And this is commercial music.
Right.
Speaking. Okay, right. So you kind of have to follow. You got to know what's going on. You got to keep an ear out to what's going on, and you don't want to. You don't want to copy that or follow that completely.
Well, that's where it gets weird, right?
That's where it gets weird.
Because you have that whole era of the Jason Aldean, the redneck party music, and that
and
was
you got into the bro country, and
right? Yeah. And so okay, cool, and then it rolled into we have stuff now that's getting more Texas country pushed, and you have artists even Oliver Anthony, who's just it's raw, and then you someone like Charlie Crockett, who's bringing back stuff from the 50s, it's in 60s, it's interesting that you have those. But those are little pockets. But then you still have your mainstream sound.
For sure.
And what is the mainstream sound right now in country music?
Man,
in your opinion?
In my opinion, Morgan Wallen is the king.
Right. And
now.
what would you even consider his style of country? If you were to put something on it, or what do they consider it?
I mean, it's country. I mean, it's got that. I mean, it's country, but it's the hip hop stuff he was listening to in his truck when he was drinking around with his buddies when he was 15, and it's got all that influence in there too. And then you get into the whole argument of, well, that ain't country, this is country.
Well, isn't country just speaking your feelings into a microphone with the guitar attached to it? I feel like that's what it is. What I mean? If I were to categorize, or say if someone said, okay, how would you give me a sense of what your explanation of this style of music is? That's what I would say.
Me too. And honestly, and people get really hung up on this kind of stuff, and I don't.
I think because they're concrete.
Yeah.
They're standing in one era of that style of music. Well, if it ain't Conway, it ain't country. You know what I mean?
Dude, oh my God. I mean, it's, yeah.
And then 10 years prior to that, if it ain't Hank Williams Sr., I listen to it. You know what I mean?
Dude, when this is what kills me the most. I mean, I don't even want to get on this soapbox.
No, let's go.
But when Florida Georgia Line came out, love them or hate them, I don't care if you like them or not.
What was their hit song?
Their big one was Cruise. I think
Oh
it was
yeah,
called.
yeah, baby, roll windows down or whatever.
Yeah. So when they came out, everybody got all butthurt, and that's not country, and blah blah blah. And maybe it is, maybe it didn't. I don't know. I don't really care. Whatever. However, when Hank Jr. and Waylon Jennings came out, that wasn't country.
Hell no, that was outlaw.
So exactly. But people have this. They have this misconception that's country. Well, if you lived back then, well, no, it wasn't.
Most definitely was not.
Where do you go by?
Well,
you know what I mean?
Have you seen that documentary on George and Tammy yet?
No,
You gotta watch it. It's
I've heard
amazing.
really good,
It's amazing. It's amazing. But like that era of music, like where it was all about cheating on the spouse and making up and drinking and and just doing drugs. Man, like it's just like 70s, late 60s, early 70s, late 70s, whatever that era was. But like it is interesting, like how what's going on in that time influences that music.
Yeah,
and the people that are living in that. Like the people that are living in that music's conception, like if they're the age of, I don't know, when you say you start soaking in music, like 10 years old maybe.
Yeah, probably for me it was like 10 or 12.
You're old enough to understand the emotion behind it, and then all the way to you're in your mid 20s. You're musically driven, so it's like it's just nailed into your head.
You get stuck in that.
That's if I'm listening to country, that was my country. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And anything other than that's not country.
Exactly. And for me, I don't care if it's Jamaican calypso music. If it's a great song, it's a great song.
What the fuck? What is that?
I don't even know. I just made it up.
Okay.
I'm going to go write one when I leave here.
Yeah.
But if it's like, I like great songs. I don't care what it is. You know what I mean? And if somebody wants to say it's not country, fine, whatever. I don't care.
I'm weird about country. So I grew up like on my dad's side of the family. They were always listening to that stuff like George Jones, Vern Gosdin,
which is
Conway.
Great.
I love that stuff. And then on this side, my mom was listening to more like modern hits during the time I was growing up, which would have been like Alan Jackson,
I love Alan Jackson.
Clint Black, George Strait. And,
I'm extremely particular when it comes to my vehicles, and I only recommend those who are the same way. That's why I always recommend SBC Autos. They take pride in their inventory, from badass four-wheel drives, clean classic cars, and even your everyday grocery getters. They have it all. No hassle, no BS. SBCautos.com.
Honestly, what was kind of ingrained into me was more the older country than it was that.
Right.
And when I hear that stuff, I like the modern country in my time growing up. It doesn't hit me as emotionally as the older stuff.
Same for me
it's
too.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like that stuff was just like. It was on the radio when you were driving around.
For sure.
But it wasn't like, but for some people it was probably,
For some people
different,
it was. Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you said. Like, there's whatever that age gap is, like for whatever reason.
Josh, can you look up whenever music starts influencing what age?
Yeah, it's got to be like 10, 12.
Like I would say like on average.
Yeah. But I remember like, I remember when this is funny when Alanis Morissette came out. That album, Jagged Little Pill. One hand in my pocket and all that stuff. Dude, I remember listening to that when I was a kid, and I was like, "Holy shit, this is awesome!" I have no idea what she's talking about, but I just like the way it sounded.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
It's very unique. I don't think anyone's replicated her style of music since. You know what I mean?
Nah, dude, yeah, and it's whatever that time period is, it sticks with you. Mm-hmm. I don't think, and I hate this, but I don't think I'll ever listen to anything the same way I did back then. 14?
The peak, 14. So 14 years old. So we were close. I said 10. You said what, 13 or 14?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
you were way closer.
So, yeah, so I mean that's accurate.
But that's when you're becoming more social.
Yeah, you're figuring out
going
life
through puberty.
Yeah, for sure.
You're getting emotions. You're interacting with more people, different cultures. It makes sense,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it really has a huge impact on your life. You know what I mean? I mean, there's certain albums that will always, like, when I listen to them, like, it just brings back a flood of memories. You know what I mean? So like and today, I mean, and I guess it's because we get older and we get busy and have families and lives. It doesn't really do the same thing.
Dude, I'm guilty of not even hardly listening to music anymore.
Same.
It bothers me. It bothers me because I'm like, I used to be.
I love it.
I used to listen to it and have a good system and bang.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
One day I'll be listening to rap. Next thing I'm listening to Southern Soul. Next thing I'm listening to country.
Yep.
Then I'm back to like rock.
Yeah.
Because I was real big into rock, like into my late teens. And man, it's crazy. Now I'm just trying to consume as much information as possible, which is weird. And I don't know why, but I listen to more podcasts. Like if I'm in my vehicle, if I'm not on the phone, I have a podcast on.
I'm the exact same way.
I gain more. I think I gain more. What is it? I don't even know what word I'm looking for. But
I know what
inspiration and creativity and like also a sense of like clarity almost.
Yeah.
Just listening to conversation versus listening to music.
Same.
I don't know. It's weird because I can attach myself to a conversation, but it's almost like a song's on now, and I'm not even hearing the lyrics.
Yeah.
It's just there, like in background music, which is disappointing. But I don't know if that's a mindset shift and an age thing. I don't know what it is.
I think so. I do the same thing, and honestly, and I hate this about myself, but like, and I think a lot of songwriters deal with this too. But it's like when I listen to a song now, it's hard for me as a songwriter.
Oh, you're breaking it down, aren't you?
It's hard. It's hard for me as a songwriter to listen to just listen to the song for what it is and not be like, I wonder why they use that line, or what, I wish they would. You know what I mean?
That's being a craftsman, man.
It is, but I don't like it because I just want to enjoy it.
It bothers me too, like from a marketing perspective. When I look at stuff, like I look at how something's designed, like on a billboard or some way an ad's displayed to me or something. I'm like, I know what they were trying to do there. That's horrible there. And I'm just like, why don't I just look for it for what it is?
Yeah.
It is interesting, and I think that's part of it. And maybe the same thing with me podcasting because I'm interested in listening to them, but I'm not even pulling ideas from them. I just genuinely like the conversation now. I think I respect the conversation more now. Yeah. And so I want to listen to more conversation.
Same, me too. Yeah. I mean, I like hearing different viewpoints and like-minded people and people that don't think like me. It's cool to get a broad perspective of the human.
And that in turn would probably give you more creativity 100%. Anyways, right? Like from a writing perspective, still listen to songs and then you may be duplicating them somehow,
For sure, yeah. And I mean, it's always good, especially if you're in the music business, to have at least an idea of what's going on. But I think you can also get kind of obsessed with it, and then you start, comparing yourself and trying to sound like someone else. I think it was an Instagram reel a few weeks ago. It was some music producer. I can't remember his name right now, but he said something, and I thought this was smart. He said, if you're an aspiring artist, the worst thing you can do for your career right now is to try to do what Oliver Anthony's doing.
Oh, yeah. And they're all trying to, aren't they?
And they're all trying to.
Well, it's like that just happened on accident.
For sure.
And he was genuinely being himself.
Yeah.
And so what everyone's doing, they think they're doing what he's doing, but they're actually doing the exact opposite of what he's doing because now they're trying to be someone based on that guy hitting, which that's not how it works.
He didn't even mean to.
No, he was just being himself.
Yeah.
Didn't even care. Like, he was just like, hey, this is my thing. And, like, I mean, if you listen to his story, I mean, the dude was on, a hardcore alcoholic having issues, and all those things. And then, gave his life to Jesus and, went through that whole thing. And, like, but it is very interesting, and that's just the world we live in, man.
For sure.
If first off, everyone's seeking opportunity, right?
Yeah.
And everyone wants that magic pill that makes them lose weight immediately or famous overnight. But like, they talk about Post Malone was famous overnight. It just happened like that. But also, he worked to get there before then. It's not like he uploaded a video, had absolutely no talent, and then it went viral the next day.
He's just another 10-year overnight success.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just nobody sees the grind.
No.
You know what I mean?
And no one wants to talk about it, man. And also, like, it's like, you respect it. You respect it. If you see that person successful, then you're like, "Wow, I respect your hustle." But you don't respect their fucking hustle when they're in the corner of that bar.
No,
you don't care.
It's always after
play Hank Jr.
Exactly, free bird. Yeah. No, it's always after you have some success. Man, I always believed in you. Really?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
What is your feedback been since you had that hit with Tim McGraw?
Man, it opened up a lot of doors for me. I mean, I was able to. I signed a publishing deal. I, made a lot of good connections that I still have, and it was a game changer for me, especially not living in Nashville. To have some success, and it kind of like if I'm meeting with a publisher for the first time or another writer, I kind of have that little leg to stand on. It just gives me some street cred. You know what I mean?
What about local? Like local?
Oh yeah, dude. People back home thought I hung the moon. It was awesome, and I appreciate it. However, I will say that, and not to their discredit, that they don't get it. The music thing, like, I've had so many people say, "Man, I bet you made a lot of money off that McGraw song," and I'm like, dude, unless nowadays with streaming, unless you are getting radio singles, there is no money in streaming, none.
So where's the money at in songwriting now?
It's
just like
well, so if you sign a publishing deal, your publisher pays you a draw.
Okay.
Which a draw basically is they pay you once a month. You sign a contract, a 3-year contract. Say they're all different, but a 3-year contract. They're going to pay you this much a year, and you get paid once a month. And it's almost like an interest-free loan. So
they're giving you the money.
So they give you money to write, and to not fully live off of, but a little bit. And however, if you have any success during that time period of the songs that you've written there, they're going to take some off the top to reimburse themselves. However, if your deal ends and you didn't have any success, you don't owe them money or anything.
Okay.
It's like, so that's what I mean.
Right. So essentially, they're fronting you money, and then
and hoping that you have success.
Yeah, they're investing in you.
Yeah,
they're investing in you. They're essentially an investor that's not asking for their initial investment back.
For sure.
If they're taking a chance, they see talent, and they say, okay, I'm going to give you X amount of dollars, and if you hit, you owe me X amount back.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's how it works. So and like what a publisher does is they'll set up your rights for you. You have a place to go write when you go up there, and they're pitching your songs, hopefully. And if it's a good publisher, you know what I mean? So,
I would think if someone's paying you money, they would want to make some money off of you. So
for sure. So that's kind of how that works. And but yeah, man, that opened up a lot of doors for me. And
so what's your goal now? You're just grinding it out. Do you have I'm going to write 2 songs a month? Like, how does that? How does your process and mindset work moving forward?
So my process is to always, when I'm in Nashville, about a week a month, and my process is when I'm at home, I'm coming up with ideas, ammo to bring to the right next time I'm in town.
And it just depending on who you sit down with, like if there's a group of you writing,
yeah,
like what you thought may not have been a great idea actually turned into something different based on the environment. I would see that happen.
That's happened sometimes. I've had an idea that I thought would go a certain way, and then I throw it out to the guy in the room, and he's like, "Man, what if you wrote it like this?" And I'm like, "Oh, I didn't think of it like that." And and I love that. It's so cool because when I'm writing by myself, I am my own worst enemy. I get inside my head. I'm like, "Oh, this sucks," blah blah blah. But it's fun to have someone to bounce ideas off of, and who might take an idea in a completely different direction than you thought.
Well, who's like the end all be all best songwriter, like that one that everyone looks up to? Like if you're a musician, like okay, like so the king of country, like if we're looking like George Strait or somebody like that, or or whatever it may be.
I mean, the as far as songwriting goes today, Hardy. Have you heard of Hardy?
Yeah.
He's a big artist, but he is a massive. He has been on a ton of songs. He's the flavor of the week for sure.
Gotcha.
There's another guy named Ashley Gorley, who's had, I think, like 50 number one country songs.
How does that even happen,
dude?
That's insane to think about.
Insane.
And it's not a trend thing either, right? They're probably all different.
Yeah, he's just figured out. I don't know
temperatures. You know what I
mean?
Oh
yeah. I mean, he's just figured out. He's figured it out. I don't know. I wish he would let me know what he did. But yeah, Hardy's a huge one. Another guy named Ernest is a big songwriter. He's also kind of an artist. But if you go look at the top 20 country songs, it's a lot of the same names as far as the writers go, and you see that throughout the years. You know what I mean? There's, you'll have, 10 group of guys or girls that are, kind of on top of the charts for 5 years, and then it'll kind of do a little shift, and some other ones will come up, and there's always a few that always stick around. Like Tom is one of them, and Jeffrey Steele, who I wrote for, is one of them. They had their big run in the early 2000s and stuff, but I mean, hell, they're still getting them in there. So yeah.
I think it's like I try to dissect things that I have no idea about your world, I have no idea about, and I feel like so many people are undereducated about it just because they just pay attention to the music coming out, not how it was. Even when you see behind the music, it's just them cutting something in a studio. You know what I mean? They're not seeing how, like, the round table of how these ideas are thrown around. I would just assume I'm thinking something like that.
No, yeah, process. Man, yeah, dude, and I'll tell you, like, it is this is aside from like raising kids, this is the most challenging thing I have ever done. It is so hard. It's the hardest business and extremely unforgiving. It's tough. You got to have alligator skin, and you can't get your feelings hurt. Well,
it reminds me, like, anytime I think of anyone from like writing to like from authors to books to songwriters to comedians, you just have to grind.
Oh, you have to.
When does the inspiration come to you? Does it come in the morning, at night, like just randomly?
Sometimes it doesn't come at all, and you have to just force it out of you. You know what I mean? Like I can't tell you how many times I sit down and just try to come up with ideas, and I'm just like, everything sucks. But I have to remind myself, you have to get through the shitty ideas to get to the good ones. You have to. There's no other way around it. That's, writer's block. All writer's block is, you can always write something, but you're not always gonna like it.
Yeah.
You have to get through.
Well, it's important too to realize that most of the time, just because you don't like it doesn't mean someone else does.
For sure.
Right? You know what I mean?
For sure.
I guess you just need to be confident in it.
You need to be confident, and honestly, what you said, you have to grind, and dude, there are people that are way more talented than me that I've seen that quit just because they had a bad attitude or they just got jaded or whatever, and they said, screw it, I don't want to do this anymore. You can't quit. You can't. That's if you want to have a career in songwriting, or really the music industry and probably other industries too, you have to keep going. You have to. That's the only way.
Well, so working with these new artists and people who may just be getting new into writing or new into like cutting, like low budget cutting a demo guy that's just been playing, in a bar or something, how's that, do you think that's going to influence you and kind of spark your creativity more working with those people?
Yeah, man. I mean, I love meeting new writers and people who are excited about it. You know what I mean? Because, not that I'm some great pro, but I have been doing it, and I do know a lot about it, more than the average person. So it excites me when I see people that are excited about it, and that kind of fires me up. And if I think they're really talented, that's just, that's an investment for me. I would invest my time to write with them and hang out and get to know them, because you don't know who the next Oliver Anthony is.
Yeah. And that just what I'm interested in hearing, is what other genres are out there similar to that dude. You know what I mean? That are popping up. Not people just creating it overnight trying to be like him, but what other we have people like who's that? Coulter Wall. Just has that. He just has that raspy, don't give a shit.
He sounds like he's 70 years old.
He fucking does.
He's like 23 or something like that.
Yeah, but he don't care.
No, he's just awesome though.
Yeah,
it's
he don't
awesome.
care.
There's that other dude, Zach Bryan, is pretty popular right now. A lot of that, and it's with technology. There's room for everything. So I have noticed, over the past 5, 6, 7, 8 years, the genre, not even just country, but just music in general, is really expanding. They're all kind of emerging, it seems like. And
it does. There's a lot of crossover.
Yeah.
It's like they're in the 90s they were trying to force it, or the early 2000s they were trying to force crossover, but now it's they're sampling music to create this piece, whatever. But now it's you had hip hop sampling some old rock songs.
Oh, for sure.
And then you had some mashups between rock and hip hop. You had some mashups between country and hip hop.
Yeah, for sure.
But now it's they're crossing over, and I think it's what you said earlier is that's what they were listening to growing up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just starting to influence.
Yeah, that plays a huge part, I think. It does for me.
Where do the charts go from there? You know what I mean? When do they start? Because everyone in your industry always looks at charts. Where's this hidden on the charts? What happens? When are they going to create a new chart that's just
Yeah, man. I don't know. I try not to get too caught up in that, because you can go down a rabbit hole, and I just try to write the best song that I can, and try to put my little stamp on it. Do my thing and do another one.
What's your stamp? What do you think? What do you think your style is? If you were just
I write a lot of songs about small towns because that's what I know.
Yeah.
And that's a cliche subject, but honestly, there's your hometown.
There's way more small towns than there are large towns.
For sure. And that's kind of my thing. The songs that I've had recorded mostly have been in that vein. But it's just trying to put a spin on them. If you can come up with an idea that is familiar to people but also new, that's the ticket.
And that's hard too, right?
It's hard.
That's interesting. Yeah.
It's really hard, and honestly, it gets harder as time goes on, because there's less to pull from, because it's already been done. So it's hard, man. It's when you hear it, I can't think of one off the top of my head right now, but if you hear a song that that you really love, it's probably got something familiar in it. You know what I mean? But it's still fresh. And I think people they want something that they know, but they want it to be new at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, they just want it wrapped in different.
For sure, yes.
Like they want the same thing, but they want it wrapped differently.
For sure,
yeah.
exactly.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah,
I mean, that's something something they can relate to, listen to. Still makes them feel like that it's relative to their life, but it comes into through a different sound. I mean, that does make sense now that you've put it that way.
Yeah,
I got to bring up your hat because I haven't seen
Jolly
Rogers, bro. Jolly Rogers Marina. So
dude, I had to get a little camp down there.
No shit. Yeah. So when I was growing up, I used to bass tournament fish with my family. They were big into a bunch of regional bass fishing.
Okay.
And we would actually launch out of that marina.
Yeah, dude.
Like forever ago, we'd go down there and fish like top six and all that. I haven't done it in years, but yeah, we used to go down there.
It's a good little spot. It's pretty redneck, but
it's a good
spot.
That's repping, dude. I haven't heard of that place.
Oh, yeah.
It's been probably 20 years since I've been down there.
Yeah, man. My dad's got a little. I mean, I call it a camp. It's. It is what it is. It's a cool spot though. Yeah. I mean, it's right there. I mean, you know where it is. It's right there in
south of Converse, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Converse address.
Converse, yeah.
But like right outside. But yeah, man, it's a good little spot.
Yeah, hell yeah,
it's
dude.
a good spot.
Yeah, Toledo being on the map.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, dude, I think it's cool what you're doing, man. I do think I always find it interesting to sit down with people who are like experts in their craft or like extremely passionate about whatever art it is that they're doing, and just trying to educate people on there's more to just what comes out of your the stream. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I mean, and I love songwriting and music. I'm gonna do it. No matter if I'm going to Nashville or if I'm sitting in my room by myself, I love to do it. I'm going to do it. So, and I'm fortunate enough to be able to be in the position where I can do it. A lot of people aren't, and I'm lucky in that aspect. So, if I had to pay somebody to do it, I would. But you know what I mean? It's just one of those things. I'm going to do it, so I might as well try to make something of it if I can. You know?
Yeah, dude. Well, I'm happy for you, dude. I'm excited for y'all's new venture.
Yeah, man.
I think that's
me too.
cool. And man, how can anybody like get in touch with you, or like are you big on Instagram, Facebook, any of those things? Or you kind of like are you kind of incognito?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, I kind of am on Instagram. I have my Facebook account linked, so I think everything I post from Instagram goes to Facebook. I should probably be more social media active. I just got kind of burnt out on Facebook during all the election stuff.
I hear you.
God,
I hear you, man.
Jesus,
dude, and it's coming right back around.
Oh, I know, man. I can't stand it.
One more year, dude. Here it goes.
I mean, just idiots on both sides just running around. I just get sick of all the negativity.
I can't do any of it.
Bro.
I have absolutely no opinion at all.
Yeah.
I do not care.
Yeah,
Don't ask me my opinion. Don't ask me who I'm voting for. Don't ask me who I endorse.
I'm not putting stock in anybody.
No, bro.
But unfortunately, or maybe it's fortunate. I don't know. Nowadays, if you're trying to do the artist thing, but if you meet with a record label, they're going to ask you your TikTok numbers.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. Are you doing anything on there?
No, I have one. I think I posted like 2 videos like 3 years ago.
So you're mainly on Instagram.
I'm on Instagram. Yeah, I think my handle is Blake Griffith Music.
Okay, I got you.
I'm pretty sure.
Got you.
So and then my Facebook is probably the same thing. But yeah, I'm on Instagram. I just like to look at pretty pictures.
Yeah, dude, that's cool. Hey, that's probably another way to influence your art. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
An artist, enjoys other art. So
yeah. That's where they can find me.
Well, cool. Well, let's wrap it up, dude. I enjoyed it today.
Yeah, dude. Me too, man.
All right, bro.
Good
Appreciate
to be
it.
here.
Yes,